welcome. Thank you guys for coming. Let me just give you a little bit of my background. I started this business, I've been in the business since 1992, okay? Originally started in the fitness field, not because I love exercising. Matter of fact, I hate exercising. And I hate actually eating right also. But I got into the business because I realized that fitness professionals don't understand me. When I was trying to get in shape just for myself, what they were giving me, what they're asking me to do, I could not follow through. So I kept falling off the wagon. So that's how I actually started getting into it. So I started this business, originally the name was Olympus Personal Training, back in 1996. But I realized that Olympus Personal Training, the only thing it says is that I'm Greek. That's about it. So I realized that I needed to come up with a name that says more about what I'm about. And that's how I came up with Live Your Way Thin. Because the fact is, if you want to lose weight and keep it off, you have to be able to live your way there. You have to be able to live with whatever changes you made in order to lose the weight. I'll give you actually a funny story about this. There was a guy that was doing amateur theater. Okay, so after work he would join different theaters and play small parts. So he got this small talking part for a show that all he had to do was, after the cannon would go off, he had to say, roar, there the cannon roar. Very small part. Anyways, it was such a small part they didn't even bother going to the practices. He would just practice every time, every day on his own, you know, there the cannon roar, there the cannon roar. So after a month of practice daily, never making any of the rehearsals, the day of the show came. So the cannon goes off and says, holy shit, what the hell was that? Because he never practiced with the real thing. And it's the same thing with weight loss. Yes, I can take you and go to some health spa for a month, 2 months, lose all the weight. But have you learned how to deal with the real problems? With seeing junk food and not giving in. That is the problem. Okay? And that's what I teach. Is like, you have to live your life. So, now, also I was raised in Greece. And actually that made a huge difference in the path I followed. Because what I was learning in school about nutrition and health and fitness was contradicting my upbringing. So who would you believe? When I was raised in the Greek island. Out of 350 kids in my school, literally 3 kids were overweight. That's it. The average person lived well in their 90s. I thought cancer was a rare disease. So when I was learning something in school about nutrition, it was completely contradicting the way I was raised. So it started raising a lot of questions. And that's why I took a very different path than most fitness and health professionals. So, first thing, a fact that everybody needs to know. Temporary changes equals temporary results. Permanent changes equals permanent results. I think that makes sense. So, let's start with looking at the health of the weight loss industry. Okay? As far as money is concerned, okay, we're doing really well. In 1992, again, that's the year I got into the weight loss business, we spent in the US alone $30 billion, okay, on weight loss products and services. In 2004, the number went up to 46 billion, okay, and today actually it's over $60 billion. Okay, so the weight loss industry, as far as money is concerned, they're doing really, really well. Now, let's see what we're getting for our money. 1992. Obesity rate was 12.6%. Overweight, 52% of the US population was overweight at that time. In 2004, obesity rate, 23%. Overweight, 61%. Today, 36% of the US population is considered obese, and over 70% overweight. I would say that we're not doing too well. Now, on top of that, 95%, give or take, I mean, depends on which research you read. I read as much as 98, and I read as little as 90%. Either way, it's a very high number of people who lose weight, gain it back. Okay? Have you guys seen the before and after pictures? That's how this should look, actually. The before, after, and after. Because that's what happens, unfortunately, to most people. Also, if we continue at this rate, around 50% of the US population will be obese by the year 2030. So right now, we're not looking too good. So the question is, How can we be spending so much money on weight loss products and services and we have absolutely nothing to show for it? Okay, so there's a big debate. And I've talked to a lot of fitness professionals and colleagues of mine about this. Is that something wrong with the people? Or is there something wrong with the weight loss methods that we're using to lose weight? And the funny thing is, whenever I talk to my colleagues and nutritionists about this, and I always say, diets don't work, the answer I get back from many nutritionists is that, well, the diets work, is people can stick with them. I'm like, okay. If 95% of the people cannot stick to a diet, what is more likely? That 95% of the people are lazy and there's something wrong with them? Or maybe there's something wrong with the approaches? It's a legitimate question. So to find this answer, we have to take a closer look at the weight loss problem. Okay, and that's what I did. I started looking at, okay, what is the problem here? And the first thing I discovered is that we don't have a weight problem. Okay, and that's, by the way, the faces I get from most people when I tell them that we don't have a weight problem. Okay, and I'm going to convince you today that we don't have a weight problem. What we have is actually a behavioral problem. Because think about it. Weight gain is only a symptom of our habits. So weight gain is actually the symptom. If you focus on the symptom, you're not going to solve the problem. You got to find the root cause of a problem if you want to really solve it. So what I start focusing is, okay, we have a habit problem, and that's what we need to be focusing on. So here's why we're overweight. Due to modern conveniences and smart marketing, I gotta give them credit, okay? We have developed habitual behaviors that are bad for our health and our weight. Okay? We are not as active as we used to be, as you can see. So our muscles and cardiovascular system deteriorates at a much faster rate than necessary. We eat a lot more foods that are not good for us. And again, perfection is bad. Nobody said you can't eat some bad food. But the problem is we're way overdoing it. Snacks now, junk food has become our main meal instead of being a snack. And we eat a lot more food because nowadays we're eating for the wrong reasons. And that's how we end up eating a lot more food than our body needs. Okay, to lose weight and gain in shape is actually pretty easy. Okay, you need to do a few simple things consistently. Okay, you need to add activity back into our lives that will challenge our muscles in the cardiovascular system. Okay, we need to eat more natural foods. Okay, nobody can argue against that. And we need to cut down the overall amount of food that we eat. Now, somebody could argue, well, isn't that what most weight loss programs and diets teach nowadays? I agree. That's what they teach, most of them. So how come we're not working? How come we're still losing the weight loss battle? So again, what's so different about the way I'm teaching? Well, let me give you another fact. Knowing what to do to lose weight and get in shape is only half of the solution. The other half is knowing how to apply what you need to do into your life without burning out. And that is where the weight loss industry, one of the main parts, is failing. Okay, most weight loss programs, diet programs, expect us to give us a plan, an exercise plan, or a diet plan, and that's expect us to just do it. If it was that easy, we would be the thinnest nation in the world by now. Because if you look on Amazon, there's over 100,000 diet books and weight loss books. If it was that easy, all we needed was the knowledge, hey, we'll be fit by now. So the question is, how do you apply change into your life without burning out? And that's where I've done most of my research for the past 15 years. Okay? Now, so to answer this question, we first need to understand how our minds work. Like this illustration. Okay, according to research, around 95% of the actions, thoughts, and behaviors are run by your subconscious mind. Okay? Now, think of your subconscious mind as the autopilot, okay, that is run on pre-programmed behaviors and beliefs. So you have pre-programmed behaviors and beliefs that basically that's how your subconscious mind runs on. Your conscious mind is like manual control. So far so good? So the moment your conscious mind stops paying attention, your subconscious mind takes over. This is how, by the way, you are able to drive and answer the phone. Okay, because if you didn't have your subconscious mind, it would be crashing as soon as you answer the phone. And by the way, no texting is bad. So once the phone rings, you answer the phone, your subconscious mind takes over the job of driving, and for most of the time, it does a perfect job. Now, your conscious mind is very limited. It has very limited power, processing power, where your subconscious mind has almost unlimited. Just to give you an idea, okay? Your subconscious mind can process, again, this is debatable, but it's pretty high, around 20 million bits of environmental stimuli per second. Okay? It's a lot of processing power. Whereas your conscious mind can only process 40, period. So you see that the subconscious mind has a lot more power. Now, by having your subconscious mind take over repetitive behaviors, your conscious mind is free to enjoy life. And that's how we were meant to be. Now, if you're overweight, okay, somehow you picked up behaviors and beliefs, okay, picked up programs in a way, that are bad for your health. So whenever your conscious mind stops paying attention and subconscious mind takes over, runs those unhealthy behaviors. And that's how we end up becoming overweight. Because I know a lot of people say, I don't know, I think I'm doing everything right. I don't understand why I'm gaining weight. Because a lot of times you're not even aware of those behaviors because your conscious mind is not paying attention. So the only way to lose weight and keep it off is to change those unhealthy behaviors your subconscious mind runs on. That's the only way sustainable weight loss is possible. So, the next question is, how do you reprogram your subconscious mind with healthy behaviors? That's a very good question. And it has a very simple answer. Repetition. You repeat an action long enough, and eventually that action becomes habitual. It's very simple. Now, the next question is, how do you increase your chances of repeating an action long enough to make it habitual? Again, a very simple answer. Keep the action so small and easy to do, it doesn't take that much effort. I'll give you a personal example about this. It's been many, many years, now, what, 15 years? Flossing, right? How many people do you know that don't floss regularly? Pretty much almost everybody. Okay, whenever we remember, we floss a little bit. Okay, there are a few exceptions. So I was one of those people who did not floss regularly. So I would go to my dentist for my regular cleanup. He would tell me you're not flossing enough. He would tell me all the reasons why I should be flossing, like I did not know them. I would get inspired, and I would floss for a couple of weeks and then fall off the wagon. So I continued for many years. I was getting very annoyed with myself because I was thinking, I'm trying to get people to exercise regularly. I can't even get myself to floss. Something's wrong here. I feel like almost like a hypocrite. So that's what drove me to start understanding behaviors and how do I get myself to change certain behaviors and develop habits. And I came across what's called the Kaizen method. Okay, Kaizen is a Japanese word that means applied change, and basically it's a simple method of applying changes in very, very small increments. So I said, that's brilliant. So what I started doing was I started flossing one tooth. That's it, one tooth, up, down, done. I told my dentist what I was doing, and his reaction was, you're not flossing, you're wasting your time. I said, George, you're missing the point. I'm not trying to floss, forget the flossing part. I'm trying to develop the habit of picking up the string every night. By making the action so ridiculously small, it was very easy for me to do. It didn't matter what time I got home, how tired I was, because it was such a small action. So what happened was, it took me a couple of months before I found myself flossing every single tooth. And I've been flossing ever since. It's been now 12, 13 years now. I've been flossing. I don't miss a night because it's an automatic reaction. I don't even think about it. The only time I miss flossing is if we run out of floss. But I blame my wife for that one because she does the shopping. So, anyway, but that's how you create habits. Now, let's take a closer look though at the current methods of weight loss. How do they approach weight loss? Okay? They rely on willpower. Okay? They inspire you, and then they hope that through sheer willpower you'll be able to stick to whatever plan they gave you. Okay? They expect you to go from this to this overnight. They expect you to go from eating a diet like this to eating like this. If it was that easy, we'll all be doing it by now. And the reason they expect you're going to be able to do this is because they believe that once somebody sees results, they'll be motivated to keep going. Okay? The problem is that the best results in the world will not keep anyone motivated if the results were achieved through a method that's overwhelming. Because think about it. If results were enough to keep somebody motivated, then how come 95% or 90%, 98%, whichever number you want to go with, that lose weight, gain it back? Soon, once they've lost the weight, the motivation of losing the weight kept going. It doesn't happen that way, because the fact is, sometimes there's no motivation. Motivation is something that comes and goes. So if you rely on motivation to get your workouts done or to eat right, good luck. Because again, nobody's motivated all the time to do the right thing. Okay? Now, the other problem, they use the scale as a success indicator. Okay? This is again one of the biggest mistakes, the catch-22. And here's why. Most people, in order to lose weight, they need to change between 3 to 5 habits. Some people more, some people less, but that's usually the average. If, let's say, you're one of those people that need to change 5 habits in order to lose weight, and you go ahead and you change all 5 habits at once, okay, which most weight loss programs is exactly what they do. You do lose the weight, no question about it. But what happens? You get overwhelmed because too much change. Okay, remember, your subconscious mind has to take over those tasks. Your subconscious mind does not learn that fast. So if you make all these changes all at once, number one, you make it very hard for your subconscious mind to take over. And number two, you create a lot of stress in your life. And most people have plenty of stress we don't need anymore. And that's why you end up burning out. On the other hand, though, if you do it my way, and you change one habit at a time, again you run into a problem. Because again, let's say you needed to change 5 habits, and after changing the first 2 habits, one at a time, you haven't lost any weight. Again, if you use the scale as your success indicator, again you burn out because you're saying, look, I've done all this stuff, I haven't lost any weight, yeah, this is not working. And again, you give up. So you see, either way, you lose. So, on top of that, okay, many weight loss and fitness programs based on misinformation. Okay, my favorite one. You need to work out hard to get results. Okay? Here's the trainer yelling at this client. That's actually wrong. You don't need to work out that hard. Matter of fact, you don't have to even worry about getting your heart rate to 60% or do at least 20 minutes of cardio to get benefits. There's benefits of doing 1 minute. There's benefits in walking. As a matter of fact, the reason I start questioning working out hard, because by the way, 15 years ago, if you asked me, I would be telling you the same thing. Oh, you gotta do at least 20 minutes, you gotta get your heart rate to a certain percentage, okay? There's a difference between training for fitness and training for health. If you're training to compete to the next Olympics, absolutely got pushed hard. But I think most people are not training for the next Olympics. They're just training to be healthy, live a nice, long, healthy life, have a nice, lean, healthy body, free of disease. And to accomplish that, you don't need to push that hard. All you have to do is be a little bit more active, challenge your muscles a little bit on a regular basis. And to prove my point, again, I'll look at my upbringing. In Greece, nobody ran, unless somebody was chasing them. But nobody was running. How come they had this long, healthy lives? And that is, the problem is a lot of well-meaning fitness professionals, by the way, they push people a lot more than necessary. The other problem is a lot of times we look at athletes and we look at their workouts, and they work out really hard, by the way, and say, hey, I want to be as healthy as him, so I want to do the same workout. Different motivations. The reason an athlete is motivated to stick to such a hard workout is because he's getting paid millions of dollars. Yeah, if I was getting paid $5 million a year, hey, I would be working really hard too. I'd be motivated because now the motivation is for the money, not for the workout. The workout is a way to get to the money. Okay? My other favorite, breakfast, the most important meal of the day. Okay? I strongly disagree with this. And I know I'll go counter to most nutritionists. Okay? And let's see if I can convince you. Now, the first reason, when I was taking nutrition in school, okay, I remember the teacher said, breakfast, most important meal of the day. So of course I raised my hand. I said, I'm sorry, but again, in Greece where I was raised, nobody had breakfast. No adult in the right mind had breakfast, actually. So when I started doing more research, I found out actually every healthy regional in the world doesn't eat breakfast, unless you call a biscuit with their coffee breakfast, okay. Because that's the most anybody would have. Sometimes would have a biscuit with their coffee, but most of the time, like the adults in Greece, nobody had breakfast. By the way, now they do. But if you go back and look at them, they're not looking as healthy as they used to. Okay? Now, the other thing, if breakfast is so important, then how come the vast majority of people are hungry in the morning? What, is their body trying to sabotage itself? I doubt it. And the people who are hungry, actually, it's a habitual hunger. We'll talk about this a little bit later. The next question. Look at, don't even take my word for it, look at all the studies that support the idea of breakfast. Look who paid for it. 99% of them are paid by cereal companies, food companies. And again, I'm not here to badmouth them, by the way. I mean, I have nothing against cereal. Matter of fact, I like cereal. I just have it for lunch or dinner. So, again, when somebody's paying for a study, chances are the study's going to show what the person who's paying for it wants to. And if that hasn't convinced you yet, look at the studies a little bit closer. And you'll find most of the studies support the idea of breakfast. And a professor from University of Alabama actually did the study. He looked at 92 studies from 1994 to 2010 on breakfast. And what he found was they were all observational studies. In other words, they looked at a whole bunch of people. They looked who ate breakfast and who did not. People who ate breakfast were fitter than the people who did not eat breakfast. And they just said, well, see, breakfast is what made the difference. They never looked at what else did these people do. Was it just the breakfast that kept them fit? Or was it the fact that they were exercising a lot more than the other group? So, to me, breakfast actually, even if you look at it from the digestive point of view, it makes no sense. Because, again, how does digestion work? This is something, there's no controversy here. You eat, you put food in your stomach, right? The blood vessel around your body constrict, forces blood to your digestive organs to aid digestion. Okay? Now, what happens if you become active right after eating? Well, you need the blood to function. Something has to give. Digestion gets compromised. And that's why, by the way, when you're eating, you feel lethargic and you feel tired. It's because a lot of the energy goes towards digestion. Okay? And as a matter of fact, do you know what time all healthy regions around the world eat? Some eat lunch, some eat dinner. But you know what they have in common? They sleep or relax after their main meal. Okay? You know, they have the siestas. In Greece, we took a 3-hour lunch break.
Yeah.
You know?
Italy too.
So,
Yeah.
do we take a 3-hour lunch break in this country? No.
No.
So the best time to eat your main meal is at a time that you can rest afterwards. It aids digestion. This is nothing controversial about this. It's a fact. So I don't understand how the idea of breakfast being a good meal came from. Well, I know where it came from, but it makes no sense. If you really analyze it, it makes absolutely no sense. Now, also, they tried to get people to eat less food by counting calories, points, or measuring food. My question is this. How long can you count calories for? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months? Sooner or later, it gets tiring because now you have to use your conscious mind to count those calories. Which means you're not free to focus on fun stuff. So the question I get asked when I bring this up is, well, if we're not counting calories, how else can we track what we're eating or how much we're eating? Hunger. That's why nature put it there. And the sad fact is, I hardly ever hear a diet or a nutritionist talk about make sure you're hungry before you eat. That's a question that nobody raises. Well, why did nature put hunger there for? To be ignored? As a child in Greece, it was drilled into our heads, do not ruin your appetite before a meal. And in Greece, you know how debate as far as what kids to eat in school? I got a solution. Nothing. Problem solved. Actually, we save money too. In Greece, we didn't have a lunch break in school. Okay? Yes, some kids, by the way, we would eat something in the morning because remember, kids are growing, so I have nothing against eating breakfast as a child if you were hungry. I don't have an issue with that. I would not eat too much, but there's no issue. So in Greece, we had a 10-minute break between every class. The school sold snacks only. So if you happened to be hungry and you want to snack, you go to the like a little snack store, and you bought your snack. But remember, if it was 12 o'clock and I hadn't eaten yet, even if I was hungry, I would not dare eat, because I knew at 1:30, 2 o'clock I had to be home to eat lunch. And as a child, I knew not to eat, although I was hungry. Here we're taught that, oh, don't let your body go hungry because your body's going to go into starvation mode. Well, let's look at starvation mode. Do you know actually what studies have shown? That it would take 3 to 4 days or without food at all before your body goes in starvation mode. See, what I learned in school was that if you miss a meal, if you go for too long, your body goes in starvation mode.